Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great evening. Last night's football game was decided pretty early in the contest. In football, the team that's bigger, stronger, and faster usually wins, and the Ohio State team certainly brought that to the table. Urban Meyer's a great coach, even though he cuts some corners to assemble teams. He sure knows how to do it on the field, and he sure knows how to assemble players. He takes a high-risk player that's part of the program, and he's learned how to manage those individuals, and he gets results. So that's pretty hard to argue with. So you have to give your hats off to Ohio State and the job their coaches did and their personnel. And Oregon, back to the drawing boards. Need more muscle and meat in the middle. The game is won in the offensive and defensive lines. Okay, not much news overnight to drive the markets. Japanese economic watchers' sentiment actually was higher than forecast. German wholesale prices less than forecast. Italian industrial production up. All of Great Britain's inflation numbers are lower than forecast. And crude busted below $45. So crude below $45 is probably the biggest piece of news. Over the long haul, that's good for an economy. In the short term, there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering in these areas where they've had to frack to produce the crude oil. You'll see all sorts of numbers, but starting at about $80 a barrel, depending on the producer, down to probably the most conservative estimates I've seen is about $45 a barrel. You'll start to see these producers fall out of the production chain. Now, initially, they will pump everything that they can because cash flow is what it's all about. And you can increase, you have to do everything you can to increase your cash flow. You got to pump more barrels, you got to lift more. So that actually contributes to drive prices lower as people try to figure out what to do with it. I've seen 3 times now in my lifetime, and this is probably the 4th time, where excess cargo, very large crude carriers, they store it on the water. They build up huge fleets of tankers that just sit there, and they pump oil and they put it in, and that's how OPEC maintains their production numbers. They essentially put it in these ships, and they don't charge their clients for it, but they're able to maintain their output. So that's how that game works, and eventually when the economy turns around, that oil gets used up. Okay, so we have our breakout right here in this 129 area, 129.04, which is pretty good support. So that's our first buy, 501 to 5. I think probably the easiest trade, again, to see is failure to take out and make new highs. So the top of value is 14, 2-letter ledge at 15.5. We have a tail up here above this, so 12 to 16 will be 1. Sell 2 will be 19 to 23, and then buy 2 will be 25 to 29. Be playing for this volume area right down in there. So pretty good chance 29 is going to hold as support, and we'd like to buy it on the cheap. Now the last rotate down stopped at 7.5. The rotate down before that had 5.5. So I'm playing for the lower end of it. If we come down in, we can't crack it. We can get long. The attractor up here is 12. That's the volume number. And we got a pretty good chance of getting back up to that number anyway. News today, JOLTS 4 point, which is sometimes what's interpreted as if this number is getting bigger and higher than it was the preceding month, which it will be in this case. It means that there are job openings out there that people are looking for. Companies are looking for people to expand their workforce with. NFIB small business indicator at 98.1. And the Investor Business Daily TIPP Economic Optimism Index at 48.9. All these numbers are bigger, or forecast to be bigger than they were last month. So if these numbers do come in as forecast, it would show that we have modest to moderate job growth and economic expectations. On to the ZB. The knob spread was held overnight, didn't change, didn't go up, didn't go down. That shows that the long-term fundamental players are still playing for a soft economy or a financial shock somewhere in the system. I put an article up about the Greek exit from the EU. Greece is pretty good at playing their hand. They're going to get as much out of this as they can. They want debt forgiven. They want access to, they want subsidization. They want the European Union to fund their budget deficits. They do not want to cut back spending, and they've been pretty successful at achieving those three goals. The first time out, 3 people were killed in a bank in the riots that took place, and the European Union blinked, and I imagine that will be the case again this time. So I don't think Greece really wants to pull out of the European Union. I mean, who's going to pay the bills, and who's going to fund their budget deficits, and who's going to keep the current people that are in power in power? And will not go quietly into the night. Okay, we've got support at 20. We've got support down here at 11. So 12 to 20 is where support is. Like to buy into that, say 13 to 17. May take a 21 to get in. We just have to see where that first rotation takes us. And then if we break that, this breakout right here, we'll go for 5 to 9. I don't think they'll break the market, but there's a good chance they can run it down today for the 10-year auction. Always easier to move paper with a higher coupon rate. Gold made it up to the 45, and you can see how long it's been since we've been there. I haven't been there in the last month. I need to upgrade this chart here on the last software upgrade. Defaulted to 30 days. It should be 180 days, so we do have low volume numbers up above. So 50, then our 55 to 63 will be the next area. So resistance is at 45, so 43, 45 is sell 1. 50 plus or minus, sell 2. On the buy side, we broke it out at 32. Last night we were hoping to buy 28s to 30s. It held, so 30, 32 is buy 1. 25, 27 is buy 2. Gold is telling us that somebody's looking for a shock to the financial system or sovereign debt default. The Ukraine was mentioned last night in a couple of articles as being very, very close to default and having spent all of their cash reserves. The notes are owed to Russia. The guerrilla warfare that's going on between those two countries right now, it's hard to know how it'll shake out, but Russia holds most of the cards. NATO, the EU, is not going to go to the rescue of the Ukraine, no matter what the treaty said. Okay, we've got this 65 to 75 buy one, and then 40 to 50 for buy two. The market is headed lower. I do not like the long side of this market, as you know. Like the short side, 15 to 25, we sell one, and then 40 to 50, sell two. The euro is headed lower by design. They hope to export more of their goodies outside of the European Union. Plain and simple. Okay, crude busted 45. That was our next trading target. Saudi Arabia said, don't be surprised if it goes to 40. So, big market numbers, impunity, no answers. So, it sold pretty hard overnight. You can see right here we've made a new low. 44, 44 and a quarter, buy one. That's where we were yesterday on our second one, and then 43 and a quarter, 43.50 for buy two. Selling the 45 area plus or minus, and then 45.50 plus or minus for sell two. The UAE put out a statement overnight that there would be no cuts that they could see in the foreseeable future to OPEC production. So, who blinks first, Russia and Iran, or there will be no blinking in the United States? The companies will just quietly go into bankruptcy. And then we'll see what we've got after that. Usually the assets will be transferred to their lenders. They will sit on the books because there will be no buyers at these prices. I'm pretty sure that right now there's a vulture fund, several vulture funds being formed on Wall Street to go in there and pick up the pieces, as you would expect. Okay, we've gotten through our 30.32. We got up to our next resistance level, the 35.37. So if we look at the long-term structure, just to see where we are. We got 35, and we got 45, 47, and we got our 55 to 60 on the resistance side. On the support side, we're in the 15 to 20. Pretty clean break down here in the 10 area, and then all the way down to 85, 95. So 35, 37 is where resistance is right now. In the middle, if we were to put all of this together, see that we got a pretty square shape with a buyer below 2010 and a seller above 2050, and we're kind of right in the middle at 2030. So, looking at our F2 screen, being right in the middle, I mean resistance is at 35 to 37, so sell one. Got a B period high up here at 40.42, so 40.42 is sell two. None of the news that was out overnight was particularly supportive for the indexes, leading against this high volume number, 25, 27 buy one, and 20 to 22 buy two. I just kind of see a trading range today. Probably the biggest dynamic we'll deal with is short covering and probing for stops above the market. I don't think the news has changed. The Fed still wants the market higher and will support it. We do have a Fed governor speaking this morning that could say something that spikes the market. So that's where we stand. It'll take at least 20 minutes to get everything up. I'm going to get busy on that. Be back as soon as I can.